Hello, everybody. So, there's a new topic that I'll be discussing today. It is known as the attributes of good information. So, let's get started. Now, let's break down what this particular topic means. Now, there's a very simple acronym for the attributes of good information, and that is accurate. The acronym is accurate. ACCURATE. It's a very good way to remember uh, the attributes of good information, and you'll know why. Now let's get into it. A means accurate itself. All right. Now, how should information be accurate? Information should be accurate. It should be reliable. It should be free from any kind of errors, right? Now, think of it like a GPS navigation system. Again, like one of my previous examples. If the GPS provides incorrect directions to you, you'll obviously end up lost. Similarly, if the information that is provided to you is inaccurate, it can lead to poor decision making. For example, a marketing team will rely on accurate sales. Okay, it will rely on accurate sales data to plan their campaigns. If the data that they've gotten is incorrect, they might target the wrong audience or they might allocate some wrong kind of budget. So, what would that mean? It would mean that the information is not good, it is not accurate, it is not enough to suffice for the job that they've been assigned to. So, in simple words, let's write information should be accurate but not excessive, right? If senior managers are given some kind of incorrect information about sales revenue, this can lead to serious damaging, serious consequences for the business. However, the managers won't need each and every detail, whether, as to what the sales revenue figure is. So, for example, if the figure is, say, 1,05,862, you don't need that. You just need 1,05,000, 5,000. Like, you can just round the figure off. It does not have to be excessive. It just has to be accurate. It just has to be reliable, a figure that you can rely on and make decisions upon. So that's about the letter A. Coming to the letter C. The letter C means complete. All right. Now, information should be comprehensive. It should not be crisp. It has to be comprehensive. It has to be detailed. It has to provide all the necessary information. But it shouldn't be very overwhelming or very excessive. Imagine you're trying to drink water from a fire hose, correct? It's too much to handle, right? Why would you want to do that? Example, if a manager needs to decide whether to invest in a new project or not, the information provided should include the project's potential return on investment, all the risks, the timeliness, but not unnecessary details like the font used in the project report or something like that. It has to be complete, all the things required for the project to begin, all the things required for the project to be approved. That is important, not the unnecessary excessive data. Simply, the discussion is that it has to be complete, but not excessive, but not excessive. Okay. The information provided should be everything needed to make decisions. But, so sorry, but not unnecessary information. That is irrelevant, that is unnecessary, so that should be excluded from any kind of information that you provide. Now, the second C talks about something called cost effectiveness. The information has to be cost effective. Information should be cost effective, meaning the benefits of having information should somehow outweigh the costs of obtaining it. Okay, think of it like buying a car. Okay, you want to make sure that the benefits of owning the car, what are the benefits of owning a car? Convenience, reliability, easy transport to get from one place to another. It has to outweigh the cost, your purchase price, your maintenance cost, your fuel cost, your maintenance cost, all of that. You've bought a car, but imagine that car is not being useful to you. What was the point of spending so much on the car, right? Okay, so if you talk in organization, company, business terms, a company, say, if it wants to gather data on customer preferences, as in what the customer likes, what it doesn't. So while hiring a team of researchers, now these researchers might provide some valuable insights. Okay, it might be probably too expensive because you are asking them to help you to give you. It's like an advisory, correct? So they're obviously going to ask for money in exchange for the research that they're doing for you, all the information that they're providing to you. Now, instead, they could use, online surveys or social media analytics to gather a data at a lower cost. Because even after the researchers have given you their research, told you that, okay, these are the insights for if you launch a particular product. But after selling that product, you're not gaining as much revenue and you ended up spending so much on research and development. What was the point? In order to be cost effective, what could you do? You could yourself probably, file out some surveys, send across some Google Forms, some kind of questionnaires internally, externally, and get to know your customers directly. What would this mean? That you're spending less, probably you're spending next to nothing, and then your sales would eventually be justified to the cost that you've incurred in the initial stages. Correct? So now, how would you write this? The information should not cost more than the benefit that it will provide in the future. Correct? So this is about your second C. What does you talk? What does you say? Understandability of information. It has to be very understandable. It cannot be something that no one is able to understand. Information should be presented in clear, very concise, and very easy to understandable format. Now, imagine you're trying to read a medical textbook, like a science textbook, written in a language that you don't understand, all these scientific terms that you don't understand. How is it helpful for you if you're trying to do some kind of research, if you're trying to, get some information? How is it going to be helpful to you if the language used is not easy? The jargons used are not understood by you. It's not very helpful, right? In the same way, say a financial report, if you're giving it to someone, if you're making a report and you're giving it to your management, to your head level management, it has to be written in a way that is easy for the non-financial stakeholders to understand. Some people would just invest money. How are they going to know if they say, okay, I have invested money in your business? Where is my money going? What are the returns? What is the dividend situation? You just give them a report which only your management and your company understands, but that outsider does not know the financial terms. So avoid using technical jargons or any kind of complex financial terms that might confuse the reader. It has to be very understandable, very easy to know what the piece of paper is trying to say. Okay, so what would you write for this? Information should be understandable, okay, to the people who are using it. That's it. Many managers would not understand this kind of jargon, and therefore it has to be presented in a way that is very understandable, in a way that is easy for anyone who picks up that kind of information. Okay, it has to be explained in a way which is easy. Now, the letter R simply means information which is relevant. Yeah, R stands for relevant. Now, information should be relevant to the decision or task that is at hand. Now, think of it like you're trying to find a specific tool in a cluttered toolbox. You're trying to find, say, a screwdriver. You need to focus on the tools that are relevant to the task. You can't just pick up a safety pin and say, that's not relevant to something that you want to do. You are finding for some drivers like your screwdrivers or some tools which are required for that task. And if you pick up things which are unnecessary from a toolbox, it's irrelevant. How is it going to be helpful, right? A marketing team, say for example, is planning a campaign for a new product. Okay, the information that they need has to be very relevant to the product's target audience. You know, the pricing, the competition, all of that. But a company's product line or another product is not relevant to that particular at that particular point at which when you're trying to understand that product's market, that product's pricing, that product's target audience. Another product does not define what is happening in the situation. That is completely irrelevant. So how would you put this? Information provided should be relevant to the decision being made. You cannot pick up 12 other things which are not related, which are not relevant to the topic being discovered or to the topic being researched or spoken about. It's irrelevant. It has to be on point. It has to be cut to cut. Okay. Now, what does A mean? Accessible. Your information has to be very accessible. Information has to be so easily accessible to those who need it and when they need it. Imagine you're trying to access a file which is stored on a computer that's not connected to internet. Is it not inaccessible? You want to find out something, but the internet is only not plugged. How are you going to get to that information? It has to be easily accessible to you. So in an organization, if a team is working on a project that requires access to, say, sales data, the data has to be stored in a cloud-based system that the team members can access it from anywhere at any time. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि at a later point of time, when somebody else opens that particular file, it is not accessible. It has to be accessible in such a way that everyone can handle it. There has to be one particular internet that has to be plugged to the computer, one particular cloud-based system that everyone should know is relevant and is accessible at the same time. And that is when you could say it is a good attribute. It is a good attribute to information, correct? Now, what can you write about this? You could say information provided should be accessible by the person who needs it. Now, people who should not not legally, but for example, a payroll record. Who should have access to payroll records? Do the employees need to have access or do the HR department? Because HR department must have access. But imagine an employee having access to the payroll records. They could manipulate it. They could change their bonus treatment conditions. They could change their salary amount. They could do so many things, right? So it's important that information is accessible, but it has to be accessible to the right person. Now, if a manager who needs information is in another country, okay, you have to send an email to them. You cannot say that, oh, I kept the information paper on your desk, but you weren't there. No. It has to be accessible to the right person at the right time. Okay. And now talking about time, T stands for your timeliness. How timely is your information? Okay. Information should be provided in a timely manner. So decisions can be made when they're needed. Think of it like trying to catch a flight. You need to arrive at the airport on time, right? Because if you don't, you're obviously going to miss your flight. Time is essential. A manager needs to make a decision about whether to restock inventory or not. It needs to decide whether should I buy more inventory and put it in my storage or should I not do that. The information about the current inventory levels and the sales trend should be provided in real time. Is the other products being sold or not? Because if I unnecessarily restock my inventory, I'm just going to have obsolete inventory. At the same time, if I'm only selling at one point, I might not have inventory in my go down. What am I going to do? At that point of time, I need timeliness involved. I need a plan that, weekly, this much buffer inventory I need to keep, right? So that the manager can make a very informed decision. And it's very helpful to other people around you as well. Excuse me. How would you write this? So info should be provided before the decision that needs to be made. You can't restock your inventory after the order has been placed. If you know there's an order going to come, you have to beforehand have enough inventory so that you are able to fulfill the needs of the customer, fulfill the demand. Because there is no point in information which is being provided after the event has occurred. Okay. A manager has to make decisions about whether the lower the selling price of his product as new competitors entering the market. He should receive the information before the competitors enter, not after. Your research, your informative skills have to be such that you need to know if some event is going to happen which might disrupt your daily planning. So you have to have a plan beforehand. All right. And now the last one is E, which is so sorry. Easy to use. Okay. Information has to be presented in a format that is very easy to use. Again, we talk about understandability. If it is easy, it is understandable. It has to be understandable. Imagine you're trying to assemble few furniture without instruction. It's frustrating. You get, say, a completely dismantled furniture from IKEA. You come back home and you sit in your living room and trying to fit it all over. But if you don't have a piece of paper which gives you instructions as to which particular part goes where, it's going to be frustrating, right? You're going to spend hours. But if you have a proper instruction in place, you can do it in a very nice way, in a very efficient way, timely way, very relevant and understandable way, without wasting any kind of time. Very easy to use. A company provides its employees with a dashboard, okay, that displays KPIs in a clear and visual format. What are KPIs? Key performance indicators. This particular dashboard is easy to understand. It's not something that you're going to read and you're going to be like, what is this? It's something very easy. What are KPI? What are the performance indicators? To what the company has to do, what are its objectives, what are its goals? Okay. Making it simple for the employees to track their progress and make data-driven decisions. So this is about easy to use. So what would you write about easy to use? Info should be easy to use. One of your very simple examples could be pie charts. Okay. Or you could have graphs, block graphs, compound graphs, straight line graphs, all of those, etc. This is something anybody can understand. This is something which is very quick and easy to read, and for the opposite person to understand the message that you're trying to convey through the information that you put up. So this is basically a small gist about attributes of good information. You could remember this by remembering the acronym ACCURATE. You'll be able to evaluate information and ensure it meets the necessary criteria to support informed decision making. All right. So thank you so much for watching this video. Please stay tuned for further videos.